Yes, it is true. The Black Ace Hockey Podcast is back in action. My name is Blaine Adams. I'm right here as always with your co-host Nick Jenks Jenkins. What's going on, man?
Enjoying the weather for one last time in this calendar year, man. We got some 75 degrees and sun right now. I'm just got the window open, a little bit of a breeze coming in. Wish I was on the course today, but can't always happen.
You know,
Feels weird. We're
I
in
look
we're into
outside.
November.
I know. I look outside. All the trees' leaves are gone. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened in the last couple weeks here, but usually the leaves are still hanging on to at least December, and then they start falling. But it just seems like
Yeah.
something that has gone on this year. Call it global warming, call it you know the ice caps. The polar bears are moving up north. I saw a polar bear across the street today, actually. So um, something's going on out there, but it's crazy. But the weatherman and I think it's what is it? The two jobs that you can always get wrong and still not get fired. It's like the weatherman and something. Well, I'll figure it out by the end. I'll think about it. But
We'll circle back.
outside of that, Jenks, what's going on? Anything new with you?
Nothing much, man. It's same old, same old. We're into the thick of the hockey season. High school hockey is a rolling. We're right about 500 right now. We got another game this
Nice.
week, another game next week, and then we'll go on break for Thanksgiving. I can't believe it's already November.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're right in the thick of the season. All of a sudden, it's like we just got started. Now there's plenty to talk about. The NHL has been a little bit slow. It's weird. There's a lot of like weird injuries and stuff going on, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about some of this stuff, so I won't get too much in detail into it. What's going on with you there?
Yeah, nothing much. It's same with you. It's really hockey season's going on midway through, so everybody's getting the fumes out and getting the mouth talk and things like that. But tournaments in full swing in Pittsburgh, PA. I think there's been a tournament at least every weekend now, which is pretty insane to think about. Like, people always say like the game of hockey is growing, and Pittsburgh, PA is like one great example because we are trying to become a hub for hockey, or at least lower level hockey. So there's just my hockey tournaments and TCS, I think they're calling it, tournaments, and Black Bear tournaments, and just all sorts of things that just drive me absolutely crazy. And they bring all the wackos out, and it's a free therapy session every time I go out there. So it is what it is. It's all fun at the end of the day. It's a game, so you know, live life, move on, breathe air. Somehow we're gonna get there. That's just it. That's just at the end of the day. So all right, let's get into it. The last week in hockey, a few highlights to cover. First, Will Smith of the San Jose Sharks, if you still know about those guys over there in the West Coast, pots his first goal and then pots another one, just for good measure. Kind of like good old Austin Matthews, but it wasn't in his first game. So good to see him get on the board. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, it was just a matter of time. I think everybody knew that coming into this season he was going to make the roster, and that he was. The belief was he was NHL ready, and I don't think he's looked at a place to begin the season. I've seen a couple of Sharks games, and when he's on the ice, he looks like he knows where he's supposed to be. He can keep up with the speed, so it was going to come, and good things come in bunches, and he gets two right there, and hopefully there's a lot more of that to come. Sharks are getting Celebrini back too, so that should be a big boost to them as well. He's coming off the injured reserve, so
Yeah.
maybe not so dark days ahead for the Sharks after all.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if as first goals goes, like he got probably one of the purest first goals, just right off the top of the circle, and maybe a step inside and just ripped it short side. Like that to me is got to feel good. A lot of first goals happen like off your ass or off your eyeball, or just standing in front, mucking and grinding. But to have that sort of goal, kind of like Austin Matthews, where you're just kind of flying around out there and get a sick first goal. And even Crosby, I think his first goal was backdoor tap in. It wasn't really a flashy goal, but hopefully we see a lot more of this kid. I know the Sharks, seem to find a lot of first round picks, call them the Oilers, and they just dump them out around the league after 2 3 years. I don't know. I hope they figure it out. I think the question for them now is goaltending. They don't really have a strong 1, 2, or maybe 3. I mean, that's even going back to the Penguins. I know we talk about them all the time. Do teams know how to scout goalies? I don't think so. I don't know if there's a hard set like this guy's gonna be sick unless you're. I don't even know, like, because think of like a highly thought of projected draft pick, or like, oh, this guy's compared to Martin Brodeur, he's gonna be in the league forever. Like, I don't know if I hear that on any goalie prospect ever. Like, who knows what's gonna happen once they get in there.
Right. Even goalie coaches say like they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people are scouting goalies, it's well documented that they have people specifically to look at goalies, and they'll bring the goalie coaches along too. And it's what the goalie coaches are kind of looking at is not really specifics of are they good or not at this level. It's can I work with that? And can I translate that to the next level? So obviously size is important because it's you can't teach size. But the next thing is are they teachable? Can I correct their angles?
Well, Jenks, you can teach size almost now because you can get leg extensions.
Oh, no.
Because that's a thing now. So technically we can fix that.
Have you looked into this? Do you feel a need for leg extensions?
Of course not. Of course not. I would never stoop to that level, Jenks. You know me. I just cock back the old right hand and just keep feeding them until I'm done. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's it. But speaking of goalies, Jake Ottinger, this guy signed his 8x8 standard operation nowadays in the NHL, and then goes out and makes a paddle save again. Now he made a paddle save, I forget, last year. It's just a sick, nasty paddle. Like he was sliding away from the puck, just desperation. And he did it again on the Blues. In probably, arguably, the most disrespectful save of all time. Like, how do you just do that to somebody? Just like, whatever. I would let the next 5 pucks by me because I'm like, boys, you owe me.
And I remember the last one too. He just makes these saves look like he's not even trying to.
Yeah.
He just throws the stick out there. He's like, maybe if I get it, and he stops it. It's like unbelievable. I mean, you need a guy to be able to make a save, but that's just complete desperation, a hope and a prayer, and he gets it. He's been really, really good so far to start the year, and that's just the cherry on top. So if he stays hot, man, the Stars are going to be a force.
Yeah, and recently Dallas Stars and the Florida Panthers went over to Finland to play some games, or we call it the Nordic region up there. Look at me being a geography major. But it's cool to see like there's so many Finnish players on those teams, and to go up there and play in front of them. I'm sure they're superstars like Barkov going back up there, and the Heiskanen. Going up there and playing in front of pretty much their home crowd it's got to be something special. And did you see the outfits that the Florida Panthers wore off the bus?
No, I actually didn't see those.
They wore robes off the bus. It was like a full robes and slides. That's what it was. It was sick. So
I'm gonna check that out now. I feel like I should have seen that. Now I really want to see it. I'm gonna make sure I look that up.
Yeah, it's cool, and I kind of enjoy these different look around like the pro, I'd say pro sports scene. Like the football teams go to like Germany or go to England, and just like a different style, because soccer is becoming more prevalent in the United States. So maybe teams around the league are like, hey, let's maybe spread a little American vibe over there, and let's spread a little American football, a little American hockey, and really try to grow the brand internationally. That way, there's just more eyes on things and more people have the opportunity to play in the games. But it's something cool to see. I think there's a stadium series coming up too. Detroit Columbus, I think it is. Uh, in I think
Is
it's a
that
couple
soon?
months. Yeah, I think it's a couple months, but two probably the worst teams to really promote, Detroit and Columbus right now. But let's not get
I
into
mean,
that.
yeah, we don't have to dig into that. I think the Stadium Series games are usually in January, so
Yeah. It, I,
yeah.
Actually, let's stay on that for a minute. I just want to hear your quick
Okay.
thoughts. Stadium Series. Do you
Yeah.
like it or not? Because the Winter Classic is a thing, but do you
Yeah.
think it's kind of like they're trying to do too much to where the Winter Classic is kind of like a game now?
Yeah, I feel like the Winter Classic would probably carry more weight if it was the only outdoor game of the year.
Yeah.
And it's they've tried doing the Stadium Series in a lot of uh, you know cool locations. I'll say somewhere where you might not be considering doing a
Yeah.
classic
Like
Winter
on the
Classic
side of
game.
the
So
Lake Tahoe.
yeah, like that's a really cool spot to do it.
Yeah.
I I feel like it's just they're trying to force the outdoor thing a little too hard. Like
Yeah.
to me, it's like let's identify a game a year. Or are they trying to get more teams outdoor games? I don't know, but pick one game a year, make it the Winter Classic. That's the outdoor game. You're gonna get the draw of that. I personally I don't even pay attention to the Stadium Series games. It's just another game to me.
Yeah.
I like turning on the Winter Classic game, but the Stadium Series doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I agree, especially like when you have a stadium series between like Columbus and Detroit. Like, is there a real rivalry there? Like, I don't know, not really. Is there like a big fan base on both sides? Maybe Detroit, but it's kind of been smaller ever since their kind of dynasty era back in like the late '90s, early 2000s. And Columbus like just never had it outside of Rick Nash. Like that's about it.
Yeah,
Like outside of that, like so I think we have to look at those games as it's for those specific cities fans and not so much the hockey community. Because
yeah,
I'm not gonna be honest. If Columbus came on, I'm gonna be like next. Like that's just how it is. And like
yeah,
same with Detroit. Like I I'm not a big Detroit Red Wings fan. I know they got a lot of young guns like DeBrincat and Kaner and now Tarasenko's up there now and Larkin.
yeah.
So they got a lot of high end draw for Detroit fans, but maybe not around the league. So just something I thought of real quick because I know Stadium Series kind of get talked about less and promoted less unless you're in
Yeah.
those areas. I think so. Um, but you know, other news around the league, Ovi closing in on the record. I started off slow, Jenks, but 7 goals now. He's at the 40 goal marker, which by my calculations, and it's a slow, hard math problem, if you take the amount of games Washington has played right now, which is 11, and you take the amount of games they're supposed to play, 82. 82 minus 11 is 71, I think.
Good, huge math guy.
Yeah. So, so is it possible that Ovi reaches this 40 goal mark that he needs by the end of the season?
So if he keeps this pace, I was looking it up a little bit because I was curious. If he keeps this pace, not only will he beat the Gretzky mark, but he will finish the season at 902 career goals and be the first player ever to hit 900, the 900 mark.
Yeah.
So this pace is unbelievable, especially considering that he's 39 years old. Um, at this point, there's no doubt that he's going to hit it. It's just, can he maintain this pace this year and get it done this year, or does it bleed into next year? I think they're gonna keep feeding him. I think he gets it done this year.
My thing is, it's crazy. This guy has stayed in the exact same spot for over 800 goals, and somehow it still goes in at year 20. Like, what? How do teams not scheme against this? Like, hey, I don't know, stand next to him. Literally, just play 4-on-4 and somebody stand there.
Yeah, we'll take the 4-on-3 on the right side of the ice, and somebody just go stand next to Ovi. Yeah,
Like seriously, it's actually insane. But I, if you would have asked me this, say 10 years ago, I would have been like, I hate Ov. I hope he never gets a Stanley Cup. I hope he never gets any record, anything outside of snaking Crosby's Calder Trophy. That's about it. But now I'm like, oh man, I'm so pumped for Ovi right now because he's one of the legends. He's gonna go down as one of the greats, and just being able to see him in action now, it's just like you miss it until it's gone, right? Or
yep.
whatever that saying is like.
Yep.
Grass is always greener on the other side. We're on the other side now, and the grass is so green on Ovi's front lawn that I just want to get out there and mow his grass for him one last time. That's it. That's all I want to do for him right now. I'd shake his hand till it fell off. So, I hope. Would you rather Ovi get it this season or next season, to where they could build the hype up and maybe the first game of the season, boom, Ovi winner.
Right. Imagine he finishes the season one short. Though the tickets to opening night next season are going to be $1,000.
I mean, maybe they pay him. Hey, Ovi, here's an extra milli to not get it this season, and just come back and just maybe ride it for a few games.
Get one short, and then just start actively missing the net, and then we'll tell you when to get it.
Right. I think it would be beneficial for the NHL to have him miss the record this year.
Yeah.
And then just all the off season, just Ovi's getting it. And then you can really like pump it up and get Wayno in and get like a couple like top goal scorers back. So Mario might be there. So get everybody involved.
Wayne's going to be in the building whenever it does happen. Well, the NHL is going to make sure of that.
Oh yeah, I think he's been like either at the games or not at the games, but like on the broadcast most of Ovi's games this year. So it's been pretty cool to see. My phone has like randomly shut off, and shout out to Apple for making such a great product again. Sidebar, why does the world get controlled by Apple? Like, I feel like if you don't have an iPhone device, it's actually insane. You're like looked down upon, less than.
You're an Apple person or you're not. There's like, male and female, Apple or not. That's
send me a green text, why don't you? And see what happens. See what fucking happens.
That's the number one thing that I hate seeing is a green text.
Just instantly mad. Like, you're getting a one-word reply for sure.
I'm like, if it comes in green, I'm probably not responding to you. Sorry.
Yeah, not responding is the way I live. Especially the way the apps lives nowadays. They're just absolutely not responding to any of the coaches' messages in the locker room. They're an absolute disaster. Maybe Nathan McKinnon ate too much chickpea pasta in the locker room, or maybe switched out the waffle maker mix. I don't know what's going on over there in the clubhouse, but what are your thoughts on this organization's slow start this year?
Well, I think a couple of things. The first piece of it is probably the biggest problem is they can't keep the puck out of their own net. They started the season with Georgiev, and he's been an absolute nightmare. And thank you, Georgiev, for single-handedly tanking my fantasy team to start this year.
All right.
Anunen seems to be their best option right now. They gave Capo Kakinen a game there, and he just shit the bed. So
Capo who?
He used to be all over the league. He was in Minnesota, then he was in San Jose. He had a year with the Devils. He's a well-traveled man.
Gotcha.
But they can't get a save right now. Anunen's had a couple of good games. He's had a couple of rough games, but I think the problem probably stems from not playing tight enough defensively. I mean, there's a lot of high-scoring games with them right now.
Yeah.
But I think the other problem, too, is if you look at their roster, they're banged up. They've got a lot of key guys out of the lineup. Landeskog has been out for 2 years at this point. Lehkonen, who's a key piece on their left side, has missed a good chunk of the season so far, and they're hoping to get him back soon. Nichushkin, who's been in the player assistance program, he's actually due to come back sometime early this month. So, reinforcements could be on the way, but they're missing, I think, if I did my math properly, which I hope I did because I'm a big math guy, they're missing 6 of their regular forwards in the lineup.
Wow. Yeah.
And, that hurts. You've got a lot of call-up guys playing big minutes for you at that point. So, I don't think it's too late to right the ship. I think reinforcements are on the way. If the goaltending coaches can be a goalie whisperer and get at least one of these goalies hot, I think they could turn it around pretty quick. But it's been a tough start to the year for the Avs, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think, having your top point scorer, a D-man, is pretty insane, even though this D-man's also insane. It's just not ideal for, scoring in general. But one highlight I'd like to say is a bright spot in their lineup is Casey Middlestead. Absolutely elevating his game right now, and I think being in the top 5 in points is something that the Avs can look at and be like, wow, we finally got a young guy to step up outside of Rantanen, outside of Nichushkin, and actually be a leader on the team. And I think it's very intriguing as far as, hey, why don't we just always ask Buffalo for trades? Because anybody that leaves Buffalo is insane. So, I can, I hope Middlestat keeps going. I hope he elevates even more. Maybe squeaks into their top 3. But it's a long road to hoe for the young lad, and good to see him step up and play big minutes over there in Colorado. But I wanted to highlight 2 players here that recently changed their look on the ice, and it's been a talking point for the last couple games here, and that is Martin Necas dyed his hair because he lost a bet, Jenks. We know if you're not a man if you don't pay up on your bets. And I'll say I haven't paid up on a lot of bets, so I'm calling myself out here a little bit, and people know who they are. Martin Necas 17 points since going blonde, and Crosby 7 points in 3 games since having the stash. And Chris Letang goes, he's the stash man now. And knowing Crosby, that's probably why he did it. He's like, oh, I scored 2. Oh, I scored 3. 3-point night. Keep it going.
You got to keep it rolling. Well, Crosby's famous for going stash in November. I mean, we're in Movember here.
Yep.
So that you're going to see a lot of players doing that, but Crosby probably rocks the best one. And Letang said it best. Mustache Crosby is just a whole different level. And if I'm Crosby and I'm doing this well, I'm keeping that mustache for the rest of the year at this point. Just keep it. There's no reason to get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not super superstitious. I had my pregame routines and stuff like that, but I wasn't somebody who was like, I'm wearing the same jock for 30 years, or I got
not getting the equipment manager to sew up your jock strap, Jenks.
No, not doing any of that. Because I wasn't good enough to have an equipment manager. I was my own equipment manager,
for
so
sure.
I don't have the time.
Or, hey, Mom, can you sew this together? And your mom would look at it like, absolutely not. We're buying a new one.
She's like, here's $20. Go buy a new one.
It's already in the garbage disposal in a million pieces. So
that's disgusting. Yeah. I think sometimes you just got to make a change, and sometimes a change is a fresh start, and then you start ripping like Necas and Crosby here. So I'd be surprised if they would make another change to that at this point. But yeah, man, Necas has been on fire. What he said, he had 17 points since he made that change.
Yes, since going blonde, since dyeing the hair.
He's one of the top scorers in the league right now.
Yep.
And there's a lot of other elite talent on that team too around him. So he's rolling on all cylinders. Crosby's heating up. Maybe the Pens can do something with that. Hopefully.
We'll see.
Last year he was a one-man wrecking crew and they missed the playoffs. So he needs some help.
I don't know if they're gonna give him any help, man. I mean, when you have people that are shorter than me on the first line, like we gotta, we gotta figure that out. Just no fighters on the whole team. I mean, when Malkin has to start the fights, like that's just not ideal. And Graves was chucking nuts against the Canadians, and it's
Yeah,
just not ideal to have like our defensemen jumping in there and pounding faces when then we're down to five and then we're down to four and then we're Marcus
yeah,
Pettersson is also one of our quote unquote enforcers. So it's like, do we actually want our D men fighting? No, we want Kevin Hayes out there, but hey, he's 95 years old. He's gonna get knocked out in one punch. Like, what are we doing? But anyways,
yeah.
um, some I'd say close breaking news as of yesterday. The IIHF is talking about adding 3-on-3 to the Olympics. Now, this is, if nobody knows what hockey is, 3-on-3s, think of OT. We're just doing the 3-on-3 section of that. But as younger kids, our younger years, Jenks, 3-on-3 was a big staple in the summer. Like maybe they're trying to say, hey, like get the fundamentals up, and it's high scoring too. So I don't know how the point breakdown is gonna be. Like, hey, if like a team reaches 20 goals, which might be possible, that's the end of the game or mercy rule. You know what I mean? But give me your thoughts about this.
Yeah, I don't know about all this. I'm somebody who, I get why they go to 3-on-3 in overtime, like in the NHL. I don't think any competitive format where like you're best on best at the Olympics, right? So I don't think you should have a format like that that's 3-on-3, because it's a completely different game. I mean, how are they gonna balance this with all the best players playing at the Olympics on the the full, I'll call it the standard model of hockey, and then are you taking the next best guys to play the 3-on-3, the guys who didn't make the team? So like you're
Right.
making that team as a I'll call it a participation trophy. Well, you
Right.
weren't good enough to make the A squad, so here's a consolation prize. Or are you taking guys who are like specialized in 3-on-3? I don't know. It's always seemed like an arcadey game to me. It plays way different. It's a lot higher scoring.
Well, you look
I
at the
just I don't
Olympics
like the
now.
idea.
You look at the Olympics now, and they're begging for new games. Like every year, they're trying to like find something new that a lot of people watch. And like winter sports, there's not a lot you could do. Hey, maybe get acrobatic ski jump where you go off a ski jump and dance in the air, and then try to land back with one foot. I don't know, but like maybe they're trying to introduce like something like this where it's high pace, high scoring, everybody's getting involved. You and it you bring up another great point. It's what we're going to see in the 2026 summer games, where there's going to be flag football games.
Yeah,
Where do you invite NFL players, or there is a USA flag football team, but
right.
if like say Tyreek Hill wants to play, is that an automatic like, hey, go just go, or is there tryouts? Now, who's gonna be the I don't even know how that stuff is judged, and this is what I mean. There's so much behind just introducing the games. Like, do you
Yeah.
have somebody judge the flag football players that are playing right now? And how is it fair for them to miss out on the Olympics when they play for Team USA and
Well,
just
that's
have
just
like this
it.
guy? Yeah,
You nailed it. So this USA flag football team probably thinks they're locked in.
right,
They're like, we're the team. We're going to the Olympics on this. You're telling me the example you use is perfect. You're telling me that if Tyreek Hill called you up and
right,
said, I want to play for that team, they're going to tell him no. You're out of your
exactly.
mind.
Yeah, it's like Crosby calling your hotline and be like, "Hey, can I join the team?" Like, absolutely, please.
Yes, yes,
So
thank you.
I maybe they tried that they do teams like say Team USA is like already slated like as a team, and then the NFL submits their team, or like say Tyreek Hill just gets a couple of his buddies and submits his team. I don't know, because the NFL, like all these pro football teams, they have to wear like the NFL attire.
Yep.
because like we've never seen a Olympic football team go and wear USA. Now NBA, NHL, MLB, they all have their own things. It's just the NFL doesn't, and it'll be interesting to see if Roger Goodell tries to money gouge the Olympics and say, hey, since Tyreek Hill's going or Patrick Mahomes is going, we want some of that cut because these are our best
100%.
stars. So
100%.
now we're see how like crazy it gets, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think the success of flag football will determine if the 3-on-3 goes through. I bet you the success of that will. The ratings, like
Yeah.
if people watch, you know what I mean?
I could see those being closely related. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, because I think of that, then I think of like beach volleyball where there's like doubles, and then there's teams, and
Yeah.
then there's just different ways to combination one sport specifically. So it'll be cool to watch out for in the future. All right, Jenks. I wanted to create a new topic here because what I've been seeing from just the start of this season to moving forward on, there's just some weird things out there still in hockey that I wanted to get your thoughts on.
All
We're
right.
calling it outdated or still relevant, kind of like onsides, offsides. But is this outdated for today's game, or is it still relevant around the league that people can get away with? And the first one I want to talk about is the one ref, two line system. And if nobody knows this, it's where you have two referee or two linesmen, basically onsides, offsides, JFL, and then one ref that's just hauling ass up and down the ice, pretty much freaking cockroach on the road, just trying to keep up with play as best as possible, which is not possible.
No.
Outdated or still relevant, Jenks?
I mean, I'm curious what your thoughts are, and I'll let you run with it because you're the ref here. But in my opinion, I think the better system, if you're only going to do three guys, that's fine. I think the better system is two refs and a linesman. I think it's more important that you get the important calls like penalties and stuff right, because with only one ref, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the play that guy might not catch because he's watching the puck, and then Timmy gets two-handed from behind the play and he doesn't see it, and the coach is freaking out. So I think two refs and one linesman makes more sense to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. This system is so outdated. I get the aspect of like trying to train referees in order for game management, which is what this system is. It's like one ref, you're pretty much only calling the obvious automatic things. Like anything else, you have to let go because you're going to miss so much. And it gets me thinking like, why is this even a thing anymore? Like, I get it, like when fights were relevant, like the game polices itself, but kids are the game is increasing in speed, and at the level where this system is used, it's just not conducive for like aspiring refs, and especially like at the younger age, because you get so overwhelmed with everything, right? Like now, like say you're in the corner and the puck's going, right? You have to let play go a little bit so you can have that full view, like full vision, and then you have to pass the linesman, and then all of a sudden play's heading the other end. You just got to the blue line, so now you have to stop, let the play go by you, watch, and then get down there. Oh wait, there's a fight behind the play, so you turn, but then there's a trip in the corner, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, shit. Like, I can't call it because I didn't see it, and now I'm getting shit from literally everybody in the building. So it's like stuff like that. I think is very hard for younger referees, and when I say younger, I'm thinking like me, like 27, 28 to like 20, 24, 23. But it's good practice. Again, like if you don't do it, you're never gonna like know what to do. So like I think we have to adjust that system a little bit and say like, hey, maybe we give the linesmen the ability to watch behind the play, and if people were fighting, like say like, hey, these two were like punching each other, like give them each like a rough, done, yeah, let's do it. But like outside, like the linesmen can't do that right now in like the
Right.
system. They can only call majors, too many men, and I think delay games. Like if the goalie shoots it out of play, and that's about it. And I don't know, like two ref one lines. It's just so easy. Like it's just it's easy for everyone. I don't know. I like that system so much more. But going on to the next topic, flop on the skates, Jenks. I know we talked about this on the one of the earlier seasons on onsides or offsides, but I look at it now and I'm like, is this outdated or is this still relevant, Jenks?
I was thinking about it a little bit. I don't know how much you really see that anymore. I I was thinking, I'm like, okay, it's definitely something that sticks out because you're like, oh, this guy's a hot shot.
Yeah.
He's got the flop. A lot of times he's got the extra cage hang on going on. I mean, you know the type of guy I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't know how common it really is anymore. So I guess from that perspective, I would say it's outdated. I mean, I've never done it. I tried it once, super uncomfortable. We'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Not that I really even play anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But I would call flop on the skates outdated.
I would say outdated as well. It's run its course. Ovi really brought it into the forefront in the early 2000s, or like a high late 90s, early 2000s, and it's just like it's not. If you're gonna do cage hang, you can't be extra douchey and then hit the
Yeah.
flops, because like then you're like a bender. So like you can only have one. If you flop, you can't have cage hang. But if you cage hang, you can't have flop. So like it's just like which battle do you want to win? And to me, I'd rather win no battle. I'd rather win my battles on the score sheet like I did.
Yep.
But and outside of that, it's a wild look because like then you get into like does he have green laces or yellow laces you know what I mean? So it's I don't know, or extra long tongue like the thing's like sticking out there like past the blue line, then you're off sides.
Too many kids these days are more worried about how they look. We got to look cool. We got to look good. Everything's got to look good.
Yeah.
Just quit trying to look cool and just freaking play hockey. You're a terrible hockey player. It doesn't matter if you look cool or not. You're horrible. Just play the game.
You're horrible, but I look good. That's half the battle. Look good, play good, Jenks.
Yeah, look good. Sometimes you play good. I don't know. It just depends.
Just get pucks in deep, dump and
Quit
chase.
worrying. My advice as your resident coach on the podcast is quit worrying about how you look and just play the game.
All right,
If you're not putting pucks in the net, I can't use you. So how cool are you looking when you're sitting on the bench?
Fair enough. Along the same lines, Jenks, chrome face masks, and I'm talking like the cages, like chrome cages. Now, I say this because usually people are wearing white, black, or they do the full bubble.
Yeah.
So are chrome cages outdated, Jenks?
Outdated, man. I can't even remember the last time I've seen one. I think the last time I saw one was probably 2014 when McDavid had to wear one at the World Juniors because he wasn't old enough to wear a visor yet. They don't do you any good. I've had a chrome cage before.
Okay.
You can't see through it for shit.
Come on, stop. You certainly can see through it.
No, you can't.
You just don't know. If you lock onto your cage during play, like you're bad. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're blinded by the light because the light is shining off your chrome cage right up in your eyes.
Okay.
It's outdated, man. Just go out, do yourself a favor, go out. At a minimum, get yourself one of those Oreo cages where it's got the white inside, black outside, or just get yourself a straight black cage. It's easy. Don't buy a chrome cage. It's not worth it. Trust me.
I would say it's outdated for the sole fact that if you wear it, it's like so crazy looking that it's just like just be the same as everybody else. Like don't stick out.
Yes.
Like I get it. I wore blue pants in college for the scouts when we were maroon. I
All the
got it.
scoots.
I got it. The scouts they could pick me out because I have very baby blue pants. I get it. But it's just so weird. Every time I see it, I'm just like, God, that kid's probably trash. And like the only time like I ever think differently is like, wow, that this kid's an absolute legend. Like he's the captain, he's center, he's first line. It's
Mm,
but outside of that, like if you're not on a different level, same with the flops. If you rock flops and you're trash, like buddy, you got to rethink. Just tape them up around your ankles to keep support. It's just it's a tough look sometimes. So I'm sticking with outdated. We'll add more topics as we see, and
yeah.
some things are. If we're in that weird period where kids are like starting to experiment with style,
Yeah.
so things are starting to rotate in and out, and it'll be fun to see in the coming future, like skate skins. Have you ever seen the stickers on the skates yet?
I haven't seen that
I've
yet,
seen a
but that
few.
doesn't surprise
I've
me.
seen a few. They're in the
Time.
lower levels, so it's like
Great, so they're coming.
yeah,
Times are changing, man. It's things are a lot different than when we played, so I feel like we notice those kinds of things. So
yeah,
every time I see something, I'm gonna call it out.
yeah. I've even seen goalies wrap the bottom of the post in like rubber. Like
I've seen that before. I have seen that.
yeah, so
They bring
it's
there are these little clip-on things
yeah,
so that when they push off the post, they don't ruin their skate blade, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I've seen those. Yep.
Um, but another thought-provoking topic I wanted to bring up, and then we can get the writing on the wall segment. Then intermediate captains, and when I say this, think of like the Anaheim Ducks right now. Gudis is their captain. Uh, I'd say he's definitely not the first captain I'd pick out of the bunch. Probably Zegras, but you know, are intermediate captains necessary? And when I say this, uh, why do people or teams appoint captains knowing the next year or in 2 years they're just gonna appoint another captain because they're the best player or they're like one of their young stars? Like I'd say Carlson on the Anaheim Ducks is probably gonna be their captain um, in the next coming years. So give me your thoughts on intermediate captains.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think it depends on the situation. Um, if you think there's a chance that one of these young guys is going to take over as your outright captain in the next year or two, it probably doesn't make sense. If you think you've got a lot of young guys who need a few more years, say 3 or 4 years maybe, to really develop as a leader, then okay, sure. Then you pick out your voice in the room and you say this guy's going to lead us, and then there's a transition period. I mean, think about the Maple Leafs here. They just transitioned to Matthews as their captain, and I
Yeah,
think that was probably their long term plan all along, right? They've got this superstar. They gave him an A. They brought in Tavares. Tavares was a veteran. Gave him the C and said, they probably had these conversations with Matthews in advance. They said, you're going to learn from this guy on how to be a pro and how to be a leader. And then at some point, you're going to be the captain of this team. I don't think there's anything wrong with that approach. But I think if you're like in Anaheim's case, let's use them as an example. If they really only wanted Gudis to be the leader for like this year and
yeah,
then they're going to move on from him, I don't really see as a point in appointing him captain. Just give everybody a bunch of A's and say
right.
you guys are leaders, and let's see who becomes the I'll say the most vocal voice. I don't know if that's always true that they're the most vocal one, but who becomes the point person out of all you guys?
Yeah,
Anaheim's got a lot of young guys that any one of them theoretically could step up and become the captain of that team. Um, so give them all a shot and see where it goes from there. So it's tough. I don't know if there's a right answer. I think it depends on each team situation.
yeah. I like the all A's approach because you don't look at one guy
Right.
specifically and you're like, why is Gudis the captain? You know what I mean? So maybe he's just the oldest and just like been around the league a bunch of times, and he's like, hey, like
Yep.
I could teach you the ropes of exactly how to be a pro and go from there. I don't love intermediate captains because I think it's more of a sales pitch for the teams, just to buy a few jerseys or buy a different jersey.
Yep.
But I understand it to a professional development level, like a mentor
Yep.
almost. All right, moving on to the segment everybody is waiting for. Writing on the wall picks, Jenks. We are both winners on our last one. So I want to hear Saturday, November 9th. What is your writing on the wall pick?
Saturday, November 9th. I love that we do Saturdays consistently now because there's always a lot of fun games to pick from.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of games that tempted me, but there's one in particular that I think I'm going to cherry pick because I don't think it's an easy win, but I think it's a good opportunity for the team to make a statement. New Jersey's been pretty darn good on average so far this year. They had a couple of stinkers. They've gotten a lot of preseason hype in terms of being maybe, we'll say, a dark horse pick for the Cup.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of young talent there. The Islanders have just lost a couple of decent players, important players for them to injury. I think Barzal is going to be out for a few weeks now. There was somebody else, I can't remember off the top of my head, but somebody else was just announced that he was going to miss some time. So they still have their goaltending in New York, which is the backbone of that team. But I think Barzal is a real difference maker, and without him in the lineup, who's your one center? I don't know that they have a clear answer for
Couldn't
that.
tell you the second center.
Yeah, so I think this is probably a good opportunity for New Jersey to walk in there and say, you guys are down a few bodies, and we're just going to fire 40, 45 pucks on the net, and hopefully we get 4 or 5 goals, and we walk out of here with a win. So I'm taking New Jersey to win on the road at the New York Islanders on Saturday, November 9th.
I love when the Islanders lose too. It just feels
Same.
it's good. It's good for my soul.
I hate the Islanders.
Just hated playing them in the playoffs. Hated playing them in any game during the season. It's always a bloodbath. But I agree with the Saturday slate. I think they save some of the better matchups for Saturdays, and I'm going with a team that we talked about recently on today's pod, and hopefully they figure out how to bounce back. And I'm going Avs versus Hurricanes here. Hurricanes, we just talked about Martin Necas. Went blonde. He has a ton of points. But I do think the added hype of Nichushkin coming back and might feed McKinnon to say, hey, look, boys, like we need to get after it here, and we need to not put ourselves in a tough situation towards the end of the season where we need to win a ton of games to just make the wild card round. So I think the Avs are going to come back with the leadership of Nathan McKinnon, and hopefully Casey Middlestud just comes and lights the lamp a few times just for good old Buffalo's sake and beats the Hurricanes in a timely fashion. You can book that responsibly, of course. But that is our writing on the wall pick, Jenks. Any further comments that you want to give to the people?
No final thoughts, man. It's I hope, by the time you guys are hearing this, I hope you guys enjoyed some of the nice weather as we transition into deep fall, early winter here. I'm sure the snow's going to start flying sooner or later, and then you'll have plenty of time to sit down and watch some hockey on TV because you won't want to be outside.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. Going to keep my eyes glued to some of the hockey news, and expect a good college hockey update next week. I think we've got some interesting movement going on in the standings right now. So
I know. I saw Maine sneaking up there into the. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say
Cornell too is moving up. There's stuff to talk about, so we'll touch a little bit on the college stuff next week for sure. So stay tuned.
Guys, make sure to follow our podcast and make sure to follow Instagram, YouTube at Black Aces Hockey for all of your lovely Nick and Blaine updates. See you later, guys. My name is Blaine Adams. I'm right here as always with your co-host Nick Jenkins. And I'm out of you later.